Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Outdoors International podcast. This is Corey Gloner, and today we're going to talk to AJ Kissel. AJ is the brother of Patrick Kissel, our main fishing consultant here at Outdoors International. Patrick's your go-to guy for any fishing trip around the world, really, and he ain't scared to book a hunting trip either. He's an accomplished hunter and a great fly fisherman. But he booked his brother AJ on a last minute desert bighorn sheep hunt we had in Mexico. And AJ booked this just, man, literally less than a week ago. He went down, he killed it on the fourth day, which was 2 days ago. He just got home and Patrick wanted me to do a podcast with him, and I'm glad I did. It turned out pretty cool. It's a fun story, kind of inspirational because he's a young guy that I'm sure he makes good money, but he works a lot. He runs his own business, a landscaping company, and he makes it happen. He's been on some awesome hunts, some really cool hunts with us. He went on an unguided moose hunt, killed a stud with his bow. He's been on, this is his third sheep hunt. He's killed 2 Dall sheep with his bow. He's just a guy that gets it done. He gets it done. And he kind of talks at the end. We talk about how really anybody could get it done. And I don't know. It was a cool podcast. I really enjoyed it. I think you're going to enjoy it too. So here we go.
Outdoors International. Live like you mean it.
Tell us about what led up to this. You wanted to go on a desert sheep hunt.
Yeah, I guess I 2 years ago, me and Pat drew a Dall sheep tag in Alaska up in the Chugach Range, and neither of us had ever been sheep hunting, like knew nothing about it. He moved to Alaska, had residency, so I was like, hey, we got to go hunt a sheep, right? And we did that. We were successful, got a sheep, and it was like, wow, this is kind of addicting, you know. It like everybody tells you, like once the bug bites you, it's hard to not. Less than a year later, I was invited up with a couple buddies from Kuyu to another hunt up in the Yukon, and I was hunting my second, Dall sheep. And basically from there, it's just been sheep hunting. It's like it's in me. I'm so addicted. It's hard to explain it. Until it bites you, it almost doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I've never hunted one myself, but I've guided them here in Idaho. And yeah, man, I just can't wait to actually have a tag in my hand. I cannot wait. They are so cool to hunt.
Yeah, and I beforehand, like before I got in, like hunted them 2 Dalls, it was like a thought of like sheep, whatever. Like everybody makes a big deal, like, hey, what's the difference of hunting a mule deer or a mountain goat or anything? And I always thought it was just maybe like the hype, like that people put into the sheep, but I don't know. It's something about it. Like, 'cause I am a diehard mule deer hunter, and there's just something, whether it is maybe the hype that, like, the social part of it that's behind sheep hunting. There's something that's like unexplainable.
Yeah.
It's in you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, you feel like you're doing something on an elite level in some ways.
I think so. I think that's maybe part of it, and not to, like, it's not like I guess sheep hunting is kind of an elitist sport to as such. It takes it takes some serious planning and budgeting to be able to do this, on a consistent basis. It's not something you can just go do when you're in most of our backyards.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't mean elite like elitist attitude. I mean elite like very few people get to do it. It's like falconry. Not many people do that, and you got to be a badass kind of to do it. You got to know what you're doing, have the right gear, and there's not many people doing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something about it, man. I'm hooked. So that's kind of what led me into it is
the 2 Dall sheep.
$2 sheep. Yeah.
So
Ultimately,
now
they're
you're going
$2
for your slam, of course, I would imagine, aren't you?
sheep. I'm halfway there. You know?
Yeah, and you got the hard part done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
awesome. Awesome. Cool. All right.
yeah.
So tell us about how you came into this hunt. That's kind of
Well,
cool.
yeah. So I think I saw something on social media, and then through I want to say sorry, I don't. My brother shot me a message and was like, "Hey, how interested are you in that desert hunt you were talking about?" And I was like, I kind of like forgot about it, or not forgot about it, because I was thinking about it all weekend. I saw it on Friday, kind of reached out, and like, just it wasn't going to work with my schedule. There
Right.
was no way. I was like trying to make it work, and it just wasn't going to work. And then I think Pat had some contact with the outfitter, and he contacted Pat and just, kind of feeling me out where I was at. And I was like, Monday morning, I get that message from Pat. He was down in Argentina on a fishing trip for you guys.
Yep.
And I'm like, how can I make this work? And this is my busy time. I run a landscape excavation company with my dad, and like springtime, like it's on. So I'm just not sure how it's gonna work. And I was doing office work all day actually with my dad. And around lunchtime, I finally dropped the ball and kind of told him about it. And he's like, about what I was thinking. And he's like, yeah, it just ain't gonna work. I was like, yeah, you're right, it ain't. Well, a couple hours later, my dad called me back and he's like, what do you think? He's like, how can we do this? How can you make it go? And I'm like, I don't know. And we had some deadlines I had to meet. So I think I called you would have been last Monday at 4 or 5 o'clock and said, I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's let's go for
Let's
it.
do this.
Let's do it. Something came over me, like I was getting a vibe of like, let's do it. Kind of. I'm was buddies with Jason Harrison, and shared actually that last dow hunt. His last sheep hunt. I sat in camp with him, and he kind of had a thing like, don't wait.
Right.
Tomorrow's never promised, and that whole story's kind of what I think ultimately made me think, pull the trigger and let's do it. I can make it work. Here I am.
Yeah. Awesome. Only what, 4 days later, 5 days?
Yeah. I think we committed Monday night, and Friday I was flying down to Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Crazy.
So crazy. Yeah.
Huh? Well, tell us about the hunt.
Well, so I met Spencer down in Tucson. He actually flew in as well on Friday. From there, he had his outfitter, or his contact, I should say. It's his outfit, but he has a contact down in Mexico that you guys work with, and he picked us up from the airport, took us down to the ranch. It's about a 3.5-hour drive, just right across the border into Mexico there, and we got to town, cleared my gun through customs, and then we actually went over to the landowner's house. So like how it works in Mexico is everything's private property, and depending on how many sheep the I guess government, or I think they call them whatever their fish and game is, they allot so many tags per ranch. And this landowner typically only has one tag. And Spencer had hunted it earlier in the year, and they took a sheep off it. And after that, they, I think it's a Samaritan or something. It's a government agency, flies the unit and conducted like surveys. And they ended up giving him another sheep tag. So the kicker was last minute. It was a last minute deal. So that's, how I obviously got in there.
Right.
We only had till the 15th to get it done.
And you saw it on our newsletter on our last minute hunt thing, right?
Your last minute hunt. I had saw the email and then kind of dropped it, and then Pat called me because I had asked him a little bit about it from the beginning. And Pat's my brother. He works with you guys on your fishing side.
Yep.
So yeah. So anyway, kind of jumping around here, try to keep me on track. We get down, we meet the landowner, and that night we head out to the ranch. It's about a half hour from the little town there. Soynota. Mexico. It's right across the border.
Was it
So
just
then
across? Was it just across from Tiburon Island, just on the coast there?
I guess it would be technically. I'm not real. It's about an hour off the coast to the east, and then about only 10 miles into
Oh,
Mexico.
into Mexico. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just across the border. We're not far in.
Okay.
So we meet the landowner that night, get everything situated, get my tags all done, get all that stuff dialed in, and then that would have been Friday night. So Saturday morning, we're ready to go. Grab my bow, throw everything in the truck, and we took about a half-hour driving through the ranch to get up to where the mountain range starts. Stopped, did a little glassing, kind of, didn't see nothing there. So then you're basically working we started from the valley floor, to hitting a bunch of glassing points from the floor, looking up at all the mountains, the sides. Second stop we make, we get out of the truck and we're looking, and bam, sheep. Oh, another ram. Okay. We start judging them, putting, age on them, and kind of just trying to figure out what we're dealing with. I don't know much about a bighorn. Like I said, I've hunted thin horns, but these bighorns, they all look giant to me.
They do, yeah.
They're just so massive. Well, we end up looking at a ram that we figured was right in that 168 to 170 range. So anybody in the desert bighorn or in sheep world knows 168-inch desert bighorn is book, and that's a stud. Like anywhere on mainland Mexico, like that's a stud ram. Well, being that they had hunted this ranch earlier in the year, they had a pretty good feel of what there was on there for sheep, and we were kind of hesitant. Like we knew that we could potentially find something in the 170s. So we went back and forth and chatted with Spencer, and finally we decided we're gonna hold off. We thought we'll give it a couple days and see if we can't find one of those little bigger rams. And so that was a super tough decision, because
that is tough.
We bedded him in a perfect spot. He went up and bedded in just a primo right at the top of the mountain, some big boulders, and you got to remember we're doing this with a bow, like
right.
So that adds a big challenge.
But you took a rifle.
I did have a rifle with me, yes.
What was your mentality with that? I do that sometimes on a hunt, and it always makes me weak-minded, I guess. What were you like there?
My mentality was, gosh, I don't want to have to pull this rifle out. Like, and that's how it always is. I brought it on 2 of the 3 sheep hunts, and I've done it on other hunts where I bring a rifle, and I almost I feel like I'd be better off not bringing it, just because it would force me to use the bow. And I don't want to say it would take anything away if I had to use the rifle, but then if I'm going to use the rifle, then I just assume go with the rifle and never bring the bow and be just content with that.
And enjoy that experience. Yeah, totally. I get it.
Because there's nothing wrong with, hunting anything with a rifle. I hunt both ways, nothing at all. Especially a hunt of a lifetime like a desert sheep.
Right.
But I still wanted to have that gun just in case, something goes haywire.
Yeah.
But,
cool. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. No. I guess I didn't even really have a plan on if there was a couple day time frame where I was gonna pull the rifle out or not. I didn't really make a plan. It was just see what happens.
Right.
So
cool. Okay, so you spotted one. You bedded it down in the great spot. It was 168. Kind of a heartbreaker to leave it, but you went after something better the next day, correct? Second day.
Yep. So that was that was a half hour into the first day, So it's probably the easiest time to pass something like that. Rest of that day, no shooters. I think we saw two ewes and a lamb. So okay, no big deal. It was still a great day. We saw two nice rams, one dandy. Day 2 comes in and it's tough. Didn't see a sheep until about 4:00 that evening.
Wow.
Again, it was 5 or 6 lambs.
Uh-oh, we just lost you.
I don't know if that did that. Am I back?
Yep, you're back now. Okay, technical difficulties.
Okay. Yeah. So that next day we saw a couple of lambs and ewes at like 4. Again, grinding up. And I could, like, we were talking, or they were talking a little bit. My guide Spencer and Cesar, one of the Mexican guides down there. It's so green this time. Well, this is like the greenest they've seen it in 10 years. Not to mention springtime, it's always a little greener. So it was
Right.
like their thought was that these sheep were all dispersed. They know they're in the unit. They're not leaving the unit or the range, because the landowner basically owns that whole range per se. So they're there. We just have to find them.
Right.
But yeah. So I'm starting to like sense like, oh shoot, like maybe we should have went after that ram on day
Right.
1. Like,
Yeah.
you know how it is. It's
I
like
do.
Day 2's over and we saw a handful of lambs.
What do they always say? Don't ever pass up something on day 1. You'd shoot on last day.
They do. Yeah. And I said that I live by that quite a bit.
Yeah, that's sage advice.
Yeah, for sure. and there was something this time, like I just had a feeling like if we could hold on a little bit, we might be able to find something special, because they had seen some pretty special rams on the property on their last hunt.
Right.
So I wasn't regretting the decision after day 2, but I was starting to question it.
Yeah.
Especially we had sent out the video to a couple of our buddies, those my buddies and brother, and he had sent it out to some of his guys, and they're like, why are you not shooting that ram? And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, now we're starting to like really good question.
Feel stupid.
Pressure. Yeah. Like, oh, what did we do?
Yeah.
And so your thought is, I was like, oh yeah, well, we'll go find that ram again. But like the reality is, they're moving around so much in that range, and there's so many little pockets and folds, like that might not happen.
Right.
So I think day 3.
Actually, real quick on day 2, I saw the pictures on Instagram. You were milking a rattlesnake. Spencer was.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Oh my gosh, so crazy. I actually was. I was shooting. We went down and set the target out. I just took a couple practice shots from the in the field there. And when I went to pull in my arrows, I turn around, I hear something, and 3 feet behind the target, there's this pretty dang big coiled up rattlesnake, and I'm just going nuts. So that was a little bit of an experience. Now to this point, we hadn't left the main roads. We'd kind of just been glassing from the valley floor, looking up at everything.
Right.
So we hadn't even stepped into the rocks. So now we're like, how many snakes are we going to run into?
Yep.
And I think that was actually the 4th snake we had bumped into.
Wow.
So that yeah.
That's insane.
Kind of keeps you on your toes, knowing you're going to be stepping into what you can't see really. You're stepping in brush and a lot of rocks, and it's like any step for the first half hour that following day when we hiked up the mountain, I think every step I was like a 2-step, like is there something that
For sure. I would have been too. That's like the only thing I'm really afraid of. Like stupid scared of them. I hate snakes.
Yeah, they're they're not my thing either, but I guess it's weird. Like when you're in it, all of a sudden
you just do it.
Yeah. You just do it.
Yep.
Exactly. So
cool. So third day
we're we had checked out a couple, day 1 and day 2, we checked out a lot of the prime locations of the ranch where they normally find sheep. And day 3, we go into another new area, and we're going to hike up to the top. We're going to get up to a real high vantage point, so that way we can kind of start looking down and try to get better vantages. We're not sure with it being so green if those sheep are going to be way on top, because there's good food and vegetation everywhere and more water up, everywhere, or are they, because there's better grass and vegetation down low, are they actually going down more? So we're trying to figure out where they're at.
Right.
We've seen stuff kind of mid to top of the mountains, but at this point I think we all were just questioning ourselves a little bit, wondering because like I said, they haven't seen this much green in 10 years.
Right. And before day 3, you were driving around, I'm assuming, and then glassing up places,
Yep.
just kind of covering country.
Just cover the ground, kind of checking all the obvious, the easy
Yep.
spots where the sheep would be before we start hiking around and potentially start busting sheep and moving sheep around. We're trying
Right.
to just see them without pressuring them, you know?
Yep, for sure.
So I mean, I think it was a super smart game plan. Now day 3 comes in, we checked all the main spots. We're starting to go into some kind of new areas and hike up higher to get different vantage points and look in different crevices. Because from the bottom, it looks like you're seeing it all, and we, you think that and then you climb on top and you're like, oh, there's a cut here, there's a cut here, there's a cut here. It's like, I remember the third morning when we got on top, I'm like, holy cow, like there's a lot more country here than I ever imagined. We had looked at it all from afar, and now like there's so many folds and little canyons in there that you don't see from down there,
Right. How big was the range? Like 10 miles long? Those seem to be kind of small ranges down there.
They are, yeah. I would say 10 miles long by 4 to 5 miles wide. Maybe a couple spurs that spurred out a little further.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's one big kind of ridge, kind of, makes it kind of a big almost horseshoe type arc. But then there's all little spur ridges that jump off all over, and
Right.
those are all the things you don't see.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
So,
I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I'll just anytime I'll start getting on a tangent. I'm still so like emotionally attached to this hunt that it's hard to focus,
Yeah, that was yesterday, right?
Yesterday we packed it off the mountain. Yesterday we actually I shot it Monday evening.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
So day 3 after we hike up top, first place, we're glassing down. We spotted a young ram in one canyon. Is what we did is we went up from one side of the ranch side, we were calling it. We hiked up this long ridge, glassed into a bunch of different folds, and then the plan was we were going to hike down this other side and end up getting picked up by the truck and bring us up to another area and kind of maybe do another little hike and glass in some other ridges. But rather than go up and down and come around, it just was wasting too much time. So we were kind of using one of his other guides to pick us up.
Right.
So from there, we ended up coming out. We saw that one small ram and ended up seeing 2 ewes. And by this time we get down to the other side, it's 10 o'clock. It's the hot part of the day. Pretty much everything's bedded. So you're, it's tough to pick them out, like, because they're going to the shade. It's just like a big mule deer or anything. They're fed in the shade, and they're it's tough to see into it. Yeah. Plus, when they're bedded down, a lot of times even there's enough. The grass vegetation was probably and brush was 3 to 4 feet. So once they bed, unless they're at just the right spot, you're not going to see them from down at that valley. And
sheep are just tough to spot in general.
Oh, they're like the perfect. They camouflage so well with that terrain down there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, their butt or a shiny horn, back of a horn or something. That's about all you got.
That's about it. About it. And I just sparked something. The day before, day 2, I swore I spotted a ram bedded. I could make out the full curl, the white nose, like everything was there. And me and Spencer looked at it for probably 15 minutes going back and forth thinking it was a sheep, and we're starting to like make a plan, like we're just got to get closer and try to look at it. And I was ready to stalk. I was ready to go make the play,
Right.
And finally Spencer, I don't know, something just ain't right. Well, we had one of the other guides, Cesar. He's been guiding sheep forever down there. He's a local. He looks in the spot. He's like, that's in 10 seconds. That's not a sheep. And I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough.
Right.
Like, I still, even after we were leaving, I still kept looking back. Like, I still think it could be. Well, I'm sure it wasn't.
Right.
Those guys, they got eyes. But you could have convinced me. I could have stalked right in on that rock, no doubt.
Yeah. Cool.
So anyway, all right, back to day 3. I'm jumping back and forth here a little bit.
That's all right.
We're about 10, 11 o'clock. We got picked up and we went into this other canyon where we could just kind of stay down at the bottom, stay in the shade, and glass all these different angles. and just see if we couldn't turn something up. I think we all glassed that pretty hard for 2-3 hours, and now it's the middle of the day. They're just not moving. So typically in the middle of the day, we'd take an hour nap, kind of in a shade tree, and be ready for the evening. Well,
how hot was it? Sorry, how hot was it down there?
I'd probably get up to about 90.
Oh, geez.
So not terrible, but hot enough.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I think we all crashed out, and I fell asleep, and about 10 minutes later, I woke up, and I was like, it was just killing me, like, to think about it. Man, I can see we're starting to get a little bit, questioning it, like where these sheep are. So they were all sleeping, and I woke Spencer. I just said, Spencer, I'm just gonna bomb up there and take a peek. He's like, yeah, go for it. Like, that's cool. He's like, I'll start glassing from down here. So he got up and started glassing the bottom a little more, and I climbed up another big ridge and started looking around. Just at this point, I'm ready to try anything. I'm a like a hiker. Like, I like to cover ground.
Got to be moving.
Anybody knows sheep hunting, that's not really the way to be hunting sheep.
Right.
You don't want to be. You want to glass. Let your eyes do the walking.
Yep.
You don't want to be bumping sheep out. But I just had to climb up there and look over that next valley, thinking maybe the magical, there'd be 20 rams over there. That's where they all were, or whatever. So long story short, get up there. It's hot, middle of the day. It's like a 1,200-foot climb up there, and glass that for an hour, and nothing. Came back down, and I'm like, oh man. And we get back down, and we're about to all load up, and we're going to go around to the other side and check for the evening hunt. We're all going to kind of focus where we had seen that original ram, the one that I kind of passed that stalk opportunity on. And we're going to spend the evening there just thinking, there's got to be more than just, if those two were there, there's got to be more. So we're all getting ready to loading up our spotting scopes and stuff into the truck. We're getting ready to go. And I look at the back driver's side tire is flat. And it's like, now it's prime time, it's like.
Right, and you spent all that time sleeping.
Yeah, we were sleeping, and I hiked up a
hiking
ridge
around
for really no reason in the middle of the day. And we could have been changing that tire,
Right.
So I think we're all right. We get the jack out. We start going. Well, it's real sandy. Get it jacked up high enough. Dig out a hole to get the spare off. We're trying to get the next spare, or the fixed spare on, and we're pushing and trying to wiggle it on there, and it's just, there wasn't a stable base. And lo and behold, the whole truck falls off the jack, and now we're sitting on the axle. So now it's 4 o'clock, and we're like prime sheep time to be there, going to get up to start feeding. Here we are messing with a flat tire in a truck that's not on the axle,
Right.
Just, I mean, not a big deal, but that's part of hunting. We've all been there, and kind of was throwing a wrench in.
Wasting prime time sucks.
Yeah, because you're getting the morning and the evening hunt. So you got to be making the most of that.
Yeah.
Well, they were prepared, dug it out. I mean, I think I've never seen those three guys, 3 of Spencer's guys work so hard. Dug it out, got it up, got the tire on, kind of got the truck out, because now we had like it buried in the sand 8 inches with the spare tire on,
Geez.
Yeah, so we get the truck out, and all right, we're rolling. We're off to the next spot. We come around, and we all pile out at this same place that we had spotted those other 2 sheep. And well, me right away, the first thing I'm doing is looking right where those other sheep are, just expecting them to be there. Obviously, they weren't, but I would say 10, 15 minutes into class, and Cesar, I can see him get all excited. He doesn't speak any English, and I can tell when the Spanish is going back and forth, it's getting faster and faster, and Spencer and him are talking, and I'm looking like, where, and all of a sudden, bam, we got a couple rams, So we're looking at 2 small rams, different rams than we had seen the last time, but in the same general area. And so I'm on, and we're all looking at them, and all of a sudden we see another lamb, a lamb and a ewe go up the side, and it's like, okay, well, what else is there? And I'm looking at this small ram through the spot, and I'm watching him, just like, man, just thinking, man, if he was just a little bit bigger, and all of a sudden, like, I'm in the spotter, and from behind a rock, I just see this big, massive curl, like, come walking out, and I'm like, immediately, I'm like, oh, shoot her, and I grab Cesar, and he comes over, I'm like, look, I wanted to see, like, get a judge on this, and Spencer's on it in his spotting scope, and the Spanish is flying so fast, and like more excitement coming out, and I don't know what they're saying, I just know that it's something.
It's good.
I know it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so we're sitting there and you know, they're looking at it, judging it, and we're just trying to make a game plan. And I'm like super aggressive, so I'm like already putting my release on. I got my bow ready, got my pack ready, like everything's. I'm ready to go. And I'm like, well, what do you think, Spencer? He's like, hey, man. And they never got like Spencer never said anything like too much about the size of the sheep. It's just I'm like, it's the one to go after, right? He's like, yeah, well, let's go after it. It's a good ram. That's all I ever got out of him. So I don't know, but I'm pumped. I know it's a good sheep. And
Yeah, Spencer's pretty mellow, isn't he?
super mellow and so calm, like, which is good because it keeps me calm and doesn't get me all fired up.
Right.
So I don't know anything, I don't know if it's a 165-inch ram or a 175-inch ram. To this point, it's a good sheep, and we're gonna go put a stalk on it. We haven't stalked anything yet. I got a bow in my hands. I don't even have the rifle in the truck that day, so we're gonna go put a play on it. And I'm pumped. I'm like, I can't wait. Like, this is just, Well, we watch him, and he slowly feeds up with the other two rams. The lamb and you went around the mountain out of sight, and these things went up, kind of up this face, and they're feeding up, and they feed over the ridge, and it's like, shoot. So they're out of sight, and you can't just go stalk blindly. It was kind of my thought. We want to see them better, or see them feeding, like where I could have a visual and Spencer could be on the bottom, kind of, pointing me, dialing me into where I need to be. So I said, well, Spencer, what if I go up the back of this ridge? I get up there and maybe I can see something and work a play. And he's like, I think we should let's go around from the bottom, go way around, and we'll come around, we'll hike up, and we'll just get a play on them. We'll watch them tonight, and let's make this happen tomorrow. Kind of babysit them. I was like, okay. I was like, you got to know. And I was still like in question a little bit. And he's like, I said, I'm super aggressive. And he's like, yeah, I know. And that's good. And he's like, and I'm more cautious. I've had animals get away because we don't want to mess this up. He's like, if you think you can get up there in time, you get up there. I'm going to go around from the other side and try to spot him from the bottom. If you get up there, let's just play it safe. You look, if you see him and can make a play, do it. If not, you back out. I'll watch him for the evening, and we'll make a play tomorrow.
Right.
But like these sheep, they don't just live in. It's so green they can eat anywhere. They can be. He could be 2 miles away in the morning, or he could be a half mile, but in a little cut that we never find him.
Right. Or 300 yards and not find him.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like we know he went over that ridge, so we have a pretty good idea where he's at, and we got an hour and a half left. And ultimately, Spencer's like, "Yeah, get up there, let's do this." I kind of left it up to him because he's a super competent guide. Like his specialty has been big high country mule deer forever.
Yeah.
And a sheep is the same thing. And he's just getting into the kind of the sheep world. So I'm letting it up to him, and he's like, "Yep, let's do this." So we kind of went with our plan. And I take off up that mountain. I get up there. I think I was up there in 15 minutes. My adrenaline's just going. I'm pumped. It's on. It's go time. And I'm kind of sitting there waiting, kind of glassing, picking it apart. And up above me, a little to the left, because it's kind of like two little peaks, I see the lamb and the ewe that we saw go up there come around. So I'm like, okay, well, we know they went down way lower. I'm out of sight of them. I'm going to keep sliding around here and try to like get between where they thinking that if these rams feed up and do the same thing they do, I'll be kind of in between them, and I'll be above where I can get a good visual on them, glass them down. So I start working my way across this range, and I get to where it's like a big ridge. It's like a big mountain, and then there's a big spur ridge. And what we saw them is off of this face is where we saw them from down here, and they fed up over the top over to here. So I went up this mountain here, and sorry if these hand signals aren't doing it, but
no, it's good.
Came across.
If you're listening to this, you should watch the YouTube video. Then you get all the hand signals.
Okay. Yeah, my hands are flying everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So I go working down this spine ridge, and I'm peeking, and like I get to a point where I can see this big rock, and I peek up over this rock, and I'm glassing. I'm looking like way down farther, like where I'm thinking they might be down low. And all of a sudden, 150 yards, I can just see that big ram's facing straight away. I just see the big heavy bases, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm looking, and now I'm already shaking. I can see the other 2 rams bedded, so I'm like, pull myself back off the mountain, and I'm only 150. I'm a rifle shot away right now.
Right.
So I pull back, take my pack off. I threw my I had a pair of like little sneaking shoes. I don't know what they are, just little like slipper type deals.
Right.
And then I had a pair of wool socks. So I kicked my boots off, put those shoes on, and put the socks over them. I think I made it about 100 yards. I'm like, not even 100 yards, I made it like 20 yards on the backside of the spine working down. And it's so noisy, like it's, you know, dry and deserty. Every rock is like crunch, crunch, crunch. Well, anybody who's been to Mexico, or I mean, even many places out west, there's little spines, stickers,
everywhere.
You know, cactus everywhere.
Yeah.
But it wasn't going to happen with these shoes on, even with the socks on. So pull the socks off, kick the shoes off, throw the socks back on, and start moving a little closer. And it's still noisy, but it probably cut the sound down 50%. So I'm working down. I can just feel like every step cactus going in my feet. I mean, with every step, it's like, you know, whatever. And I'm working down. And so that is what I did is I stayed on the backside of that ridge to get kind of closer to where they were. And then I was going to peek over and get another visual on them and decide whether I was going to go down or start working my way straight towards them off that ridge. Well, when I peeked up over, I could just make out that big ram in the through the brush, and then I could see the one other medium ram was bedded there with him, and the smallest ram was now up feeding. So I was like, okay, I got to keep an eye on him, you know, not that he's all of a sudden pops up, you know, halfway to me or something. At this point, I'm only 89 yards away. So I'm like, it's close. So they were kind of bedded on a lower bench, and I'm up on this spine, and there's a bunch of brush between us, and there's like one big rock, and I'm looking at that rock. I raised it. It was like,
Let's wait just a second because you're cutting out.
Yards. So just my quick math was
just a second,
okay.
AJ. Can you go back like 15 seconds because you cut out there and I couldn't hear a thing you said.
Okay, so I'm on the backside of this spine ridge. When I peek up to kind of get another location to decide whether I'm going to keep going down the ridge or I'm going to work straight at them, I range, and at 89 yards, I got the 2 rams bedded. The big ram, the medium ram are both bedded, looking away.
Shit, we lost you.
I lost you again.
Yeah.
I'm back. You back?
Yeah, I got you back. So you ranged him at 89 yards. And what's your effective range? What were you trying to get into?
My goal was 60 yards.
Okay.
You know, I felt super confident at 60 yards, but
gotcha.
You know, it's an animal. I don't like to stretch that distance any farther than that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
On something like that. So I had a rock picked out. I said, if I can get to that rock, it's going to put me at right around 50 yards is my estimation. And there's plenty of cover to kind of work that. So I'm working down, trying to take my time, but at the same time, knowing like it's evening, thermals are on the back side of that ridge. We're going down. It was shaded. On this side, I'm on the sun side. My thermals are still going up. Right. But where they were bedded in a big patch of shade. So like we're getting to that time where like everything's
gonna switch.
You know, it's gonna switch. You know,
yeah.
That the sun's not high enough yet, but it ain't gonna be long. And so I'm trying to push the pace, but be quiet. Not to mention I have one ram up on its feet already. So all of a sudden he pops up and he's, you know, and I can't see that ram that was up anymore. You know, he could pop up at 30 yards any minute. So I'm working my way down, and all of a sudden big ram's up. Little medium rams up, and I'm like, oh shoot, you know. Well, they just went right to feeding, so everything's good. Thermals are in my face. I'm working up, get to that rock. I got an arrow knocked already, and I'm like, holy cow! At this point, I'm like, this might happen. You know, this is my first stalk. This might happen. I'm like in range, he's just kind of feeding in the brush. Get a range on him, 55 yards, dial my sight. I'm good to go. Like, releases on, I'm watching him, just going through my shot sequence in my head, telling myself to calm down, like, you got this. And I'm like literally shaking just thinking about this moment right now.
Yeah.
And so he steps out he comes walking out from behind the cactus at 55 yards. I'm full draw, pin starting to settle on him. I'm ready to go. And he turns and kind of quarters towards me and takes a couple steps up towards me, and he's in the brush again, or kind of like cactus. I'm like,
Right.
oh, shoot. Okay. So I let down. Well, when I let down, there's two other rams up feeding. The medium ram had kind of like, I don't know if he saw me or just saw some movement up there, but he's looking, and I'm like, oh, shoot. So now I'm not moving. Probably a 3-minute staring contest. He finally goes back to feeding and just like started feeding the other way. I'm like, oh, perfect. Get another range on where the ram's at. Now he's at 46 yards, kind of feeding towards me, slightly quartered. He turns and takes a broadside step, draw back. Dialed him, same thing, ready to like take the shot, and he turns right back into me and he's quartering at me again.
Yeah.
Keeps walking. I'm like, holy cow, like, and I'm trying to like, now I'm like trying to make it happen because
Right.
I know my time is limited with this win.
Yeah.
So I let down for the second time, and I get the rangefinder on him, 39 yards. He's facing me perfectly, dead on, no shot. And if he keeps coming another 4 or 5 yards, he's beneath like a cliff where I can't shoot him anymore.
Right.
And then I've got to move, and I got to move
with
people
those
to
other
get that
rams right
shot.
there.
And I'm like, and those other rams are in sight. So this is all starting to go through my head, and the wind and everything, it's starting to get shady. And I have my sight adjusted to 39 yards, and he's perfectly facing at me, and he turns broadside, boom, boom, 2 steps into the cactus again. So now I'm like tension on, and as soon as he started moving, I drew back, and he took 1 step broadside in cactus, and the next step he turned quartering away at a decent quartering away, and he's like starting to go. And if he keeps going, he's going to go off this edge, and like now it's going to drop down to like a 60-yard shot at where I'd probably be able to see him again.
Right.
So like I'm thinking he's going to keep moving. I'm not even like thinking a shot. And like as he's quarter away, he turns and just starts eating on a cactus. I'm like, oh, perfect. Settled my pin, and I don't even remember really aiming. It just everything happened. Bow went off. He takes off, and the other 2 rams are following him. And when I caught like 3 or 4 glimpses of him, and I can see just his blood's coming out hard. I'm like, okay. But from me, I didn't realize he was quartered maybe quite as hard as he was. When I saw the blood, it looked like it was maybe back a little bit.
Right.
I'm like, okay, we got him there. Let's not, see what happens. Well, this is all, in like a split second. He only made it 20 yards. All 3 rams stopped right there. Like I can just see their heads. And all of a sudden I heard a ton of commotion, and those 2 rams go flying out the other side.
And he doesn't.
Up to the top. And so I'm thinking, like, did he go down? And I don't know. At this point, I got another arrow knock. I sight dialed 60 yards where the other 2 rams are. They're standing looking back, like looking. And all of a sudden they just took off. And I think that's when he he must have tipped over. And they're gone. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just shaking, I'm literally just rattled. But I still don't know. I'm trying to play it safe. Like I don't want to get excited. Like I can't see down there. It's So I sat there a minute, and I thought I'm gonna give it 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna walk down there. So I went back up, got my boots, and got my pack. Mind you, I watched that spot for about 10 minutes before I did that. I just make sure not all of a sudden he gets up and feeds out, because I could have, or not feeds out, like tries to leave. I could have made a follow-up shot. Well, by the time I got my pack, I came back down and slowly worked my way down to him. And there was a big rock right above where I had last seen him go in. So I got over that rock, and I was peeked and looked, and there he was 10 yards below me. Just, you can just see this massive dark horns laying there. I'm like, oh my gosh, At this time, I don't know, like, I just let out a war, you just screaming at the top of my lungs, I don't know where Spencer and the crew's at. Like, I don't know if they ever saw the ram or they knew anything that was going on. Well, at this point, I hear them yelling down on the other end. It's just all chaos. What's going on, and they had actually, unbeknownst to me, they had watched the whole thing happen from the bottom. Like, literally watched me come down the ridge. They couldn't see the ram until he got up and started feeding, but they knew, we're watching this whole thing unfold right in front of them. So then I went out, or went back to my pack, got the radio out, talked to Spencer, and we made a game plan. They're going to come up and go from there. But it was at that point I hadn't even walked down. So then after I shut the radio off and went down to the ram, and I was just, I don't even know what to say. Like when you pick up those horns, and like I think I stood there for 5-10 minutes just staring at them and just touching them and just like in awe. There's something so special about those animals.
There sure is. Yeah. And putting your hands on them, you just can't explain it.
No, you can't. And it's like, I mean, I don't think it hasn't still fully sunk in of what all just happened,
Right.
Like, yeah, I don't even know. It's just, there's something about it. Like, there's a couple minutes there I got kind of emotional, just sitting there looking at him and kind of sitting up there by myself, thinking like of how fortunate I am to be in this position and to be able to make this whole thing come together and be able to jump on an opportunity at a last minute hunt, and be a part of. So
yeah, and it's super cool that you got that. That's I love guided hunts are cool. They're you have the camaraderie of the guide, and it's a cool thing. But there's also something about hunting on your own, and you got the best of both. It sounds like you got that quiet moment with the animal by yourself before anybody else got there, and that's a cool moment that you don't normally get on a guided hunt.
You're exactly right, and yeah, I don't know how I didn't really know how to put that, but I think you kind of said it perfectly. Being able to go up and make that stalk on my own and do everything that I know how to do, and that's pretty cool. And I guess that's a compliment to Spencer and having the faith in me to let me go up and do it, and do this on my own. Like, he's gonna watch and he's gonna be a part of it. He was as much a part of it as anything from the bottom. Just two guys. Let's face it, bow hunting, two guys up there. You're not probably gonna walk up on a sheep bed,
right?
Too it's just noise.
No matter how good the other guy is.
What's that?
No matter how good the other guy is.
Exactly. It's just you got twice as much going on,
Yep.
So it was pretty neat. I mean, it was something special. I mean, something I'll never be able to forget or top. I feel like this, I say that a lot. Like, I don't know when I'll top this one, but that's what I feel like. This hunt basically just took the cake of everything I've ever done,
Right. Wow, that's super cool, man. That's super cool.
Yeah.
When you called me and told you were going, I was like, oh, awesome. Yeah. It's always cool to book really cool hunts. When we book a really cool hunt, that's awesome, but I don't often know the guy personally myself. Yep. And that makes it was fun watching it happen on Instagram and watching the story and having the excitement of that. That was cool. When Patrick sent me the picture of you holding up your bow, it's kind of, you faded around the edges. That one picture, I'll post it on here. It's like, yes, you got it.
Yeah.
So cool.
So awesome. I mean, yeah, it's just everything, everything. The whole hunt from day one till I guess day 4 was incredible. Everything just went so perfect, tire and stuff like that. Like, everything went just like it's supposed to, and we all know that it doesn't always happen like that.
That's a fact. Yeah. That's a fact. It's awesome. And you didn't have to pick up the rifle. Not that's a bad thing. Not that that's a bad thing. But you didn't have to pick up the rifle, which is cool.
Yeah, exactly. There was something,